Someone on Tumblr the other day asked me what I thought of the organization Autism Speaks. Being someone on the autism spectrum, they wanted to know if I had any special insight on the matter. For those who don't know, I am on the autism spectrum. I could use this time to talk about what it's like to live on the spectrum, but I really want to stay on topic. I find this topic a little bit more important. I'm sure certain aspects of it will come up here and there, but that's not the priority. Also, I thought that today's topic would best be done in the flesh, and it might get very heated. So you'll actually get to see what making my reviews actually looks like in reality. That should be fun. Hopefully I don't embarrass myself. Well, people always told me to talk about something that's actually important, so let's do it! What I'm going to say about certain topics today may get into the areas of legitimate controversy. Not about the organization Autism Speaks. Most people in the autistic community, from my experience, have the same opinion on Autism Speaks, so you'll have to bear with me. But to put it simply, I do not like this organization, and I don't support what they do. They harm the lives of autistic people much more than they help, and we're going to be talking about quite a few of their controversies. In fact, they've done so much since 2005, the year that they were founded, I really don't know where to start. But let's just start with their biggest and probably one of their main problems: their rhetoric. Autism Speaks, as an organization, literally views autism as a disease that must be cured or eliminated, in more ways than one. Let me start with an undisputable fact. Autism is not a disease. It's a neurological condition. You cannot catch autism any more than you can catch Tourette syndrome. You cannot cure it either. Autism affects how the brain develops. To cure a case of autism, you need to go back in time and get into an individual's brain and make it develop differently. Actually, that isn't half of the direction that Autism Speaks approaches this issue. We're going to be taking a look at the particular message they spread, and by doing that, we're going to riff a commercial by them where they talk about autism like it's AIDS. I'm not even kidding. Internet trolls using autistic as an insult aren't as insulting to autistic people as this commercial trying to spread awareness about autism is. Hell, this commercial makes autistic people look worse than, I don't know, Chris Chan does. I'm not even kidding. I know I say extreme things sometimes, but this is not the time to be hyperbolic. This is the time to be very, very serious. True, the organization has kind of distanced themselves from this particular commercial, but it's pretty much their rhetoric boiled down to its essence. And it's made by the guy who made the third Harry Potter movie, so how bad can it be? I'm warning you that this is one of the most viscerally disgusting things that I've seen in a very long time. And the fact that it was made to spread a message and not to entertain puts it on a whole other level. I'm just going to say that this is not for the faint of heart. It's something that's very easy to get offended by, especially if this commercial affects you in any way personally. Let's begin. So, it starts out with what sounds like the Mayhem guy from the Allstate commercials talking over some home movies that he probably found on the street or stole from somebody's home.
I am autism. I'm visible in your children, but if I can help it, I am invisible to you until it's too late.
Alright, let's start with the obvious. You can replace autism here with, like, STD. And the commercial will largely be the same. No, that doesn't even begin to describe how offensive this commercial can be. If you want to know how offensive this commercial is to me personally, replace autism with homosexuality, and go from there. But back to the commercial itself. What does too late mean? Autism doesn't kill people. That was never really under dispute. I mean, autism doesn't kill people directly. Caretakers killing autistic people, or other people with unusual neurological conditions, is a very real problem. And most of them get off scot-free, because they couldn't handle the pressure. I'd maybe cut this some slack if that's the message it was trying to send, but honestly, it seems to be trying to make those statistics more justified.
I know where you live, and guess what? I live there too.
Yay, propaganda! Everyone, let's all be paranoid together!
I hover around all of you. I know no color barrier, no religion, no morality, no currency.
While you have footage of only white, seemingly lower middle class kids in the United States, that's just a failure of editing. You're the biggest autism organization in the world. You gotta be able to get more footage than just this. But back on point, that hover around you line mystifies me. Are they really trying to say that autism is like a bird of prey, what that line usually means in propaganda films, and can strike at any time? Once again, that's not how autism works. And once again, you think that the world's biggest autism-focused charity would know this. And before you said I'm picking on a charity, PETA is a charity.
I speak your language fluently, and with every voice I take away, I acquire yet another language.
Okay, the biggest autism-focused charity in the world doesn't know anything about autism. At all. I am autism and I speak your language fluently. Hey, dipshit! One of the biggest difficulties autistic people face is being able to communicate properly, even with their own families.
I work very quickly. I work faster than pediatric AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined.
Can I see your sources, please? Like, what the actual fuck? Autism works faster than pediatric diabetes, AIDS, and cancer combined. To do what? Oh, I'm not thinking about this from the right viewpoint. That's right. They're talking to parents who are paranoid that they aren't going to give birth to the most perfect children in the world. If your child has diabetes, AIDS, or cancer, it'll ruin your life completely. But if they have autism, it's going to ruin your life even faster. Never mind the child, it's going to ruin your fucking life. I don't even know what to say. This is just awful on every level. And yes, I know that it's a homage to, like, a 50s ad about polio or something. That doesn't make this any less disgusting.
And if you are happily married, I will make sure that your marriage fails.
Oh, fuck off. If the stress of having an autistic child, not a severely autistic child, just any autistic child, puts too much restraint on your marriage, then it couldn't have been much of a happy marriage to begin with, now could it? No, what they want you to think is that every case of autism is the most severe thing ever, and everyone who has it can't form the basic necessities of life, like eating on their own or even talking sensically. Also, I'd love to mention that most of the kids in the video aren't doing anything out of the ordinary, but just sitting around. I thought I saw a couple of kids stimming, but that's about it. Then again, I should be thankful that they didn't show everyone running around like wild animals, as par for the course for Autism Speaks commercials.
Your money will fall into my hands, and I will bankrupt you for my own self-gain.
Hey, you want to remember that line for me? We'll talk about what Autism Speaks uses their money on later, but remember that Autism Speaks is supposedly a charity that's supposed to help out the lives of autistic people, and they're claiming how autism will bankrupt you. Said by a charity, supposed to help people in this condition. Beyond the fact that you can get financial help from the government in the United States where Autism Speaks is located, I don't think this is something that they want to be saying, on any level.
I don't sleep, so I make sure you don't either.
No, insomnia is not a side effect of autism. Oh, that's right, you're trying to make us think that any and all autistic people could kill themselves at any point by accident if they're not constantly supervised. I forgot. Carry on with your disgusting propaganda piece.
I will make it virtually impossible for your family to easily attend a temple, a birthday party, a public park, without a struggle, without embarrassment, without pain.
Unless they're the shy loner type, like a large chunk of autistic people, because they've given up trying to express themselves because of the messages spread by hateful organizations like this. God, I cannot imagine what I would think if I was a kid seeing this, or if I was the parent of any autistic child.
You have no cure for me.
No, the proper cure for propaganda is making yourself knowledgeable about an issue, ignoring sources that have proven themselves untrustworthy.
Your scientists don't have the resources, and I relish their desperation.
Once again, unless you can invent a time machine and some brain ray that changes a brain's development, it cannot be cured.
Your neighbors are happier to pretend that I don't exist.
Well then, my neighbors are assholes. Then again, I like to pretend that they don't exist either. So, I don't really give a shit. No one cares about their neighbors anymore. Everyone's too involved in their own lives.
Of course, until it's their child.
Once again, replace autism with homosexuality, and you could see the message for what it really is. And yes, I know that autism and homosexuality are two very different things. But both of them have been seen as a disease when they weren't, and that caused many, many problems, and many prejudices. I'm not saying that this kind of propaganda is going to lead to something like reform camps, God, I hope not, but it's still wrong across the board.
I am autism. I have no interest in right or wrong.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. The footage does have a very, very cruel purpose. It's trying to conflate autism and autistic children into the same term. I say autistic children because Autism Speaks pretends that adults with autism do not exist. They do. And they can go on to lead very successful lives. Like, I don't know, the creator of Pokemon?
I derive great pleasure out of your loneliness.
Yep, it's just you and your little case of autism, because a person with autism cannot express affection or like to spend time with you. They're dehumanizing people with autism and just boiling them down to their condition.
I will fight to take away your hope. I will plot to rob you of your children and your dreams.
Once again, autism isn't fatal. Oh, wait, parents whose dreams rely on them having an absolutely perfect child.
I will make sure that every day you wake up, you will cry, wondering who will take care of my child after I die.
That very thought process has been used to justify the murder of autistic children, or any child with mental illness. A parent couldn't take the pressure because they didn't have access to the help or resources they needed, and so they decided to commit suicide. Because they couldn't imagine someone else taking care of their autistic child as well as they did, it became a murder-suicide. If the parent doesn't take themselves with their child, it's highly likely that they'll get a less severe punishment and may not even see jail time at all. They just snapped under the stress. And with the way Autism speaks about autism, it almost seems like they're trying to make it justified.
And the truth is, I am still winning, and you are scared. And you should be.
Personally, it's very beneficial to what I do. Let me explain. Yes, when I was a kid, I was bullied for being shy and awkward. When I got the therapy that I needed, I was able to come out of my shell, and the positive aspects of my condition showed themselves better. Visualization is incredibly easy for me. Right now, I'm reading off a script and watching basically this commercial in my head and reacting to it. I can literally watch a television show I had already seen just by thinking about it. My reviews might not be possible without that, and I can guarantee you they would not be as good, or at least as accurate. And on another level, I can visualize the stories that I'm writing and capture all of the details. Not to mention, my recent errors of animation was a symptom of my current special interest. Many people with autism develop special interests that they're into that could be a borderline obsessive. Does being on the spectrum cause me issues? Of course it does. But for me at least, the positives outweigh the negatives. And yes, I understand that some people are more severely autistic, and the benefits are very unlikely to be seen. There's not much I can say to argue that. But the only thing I really can do is state that Autism Speaks is not interested in helping those who need it the most. They just want you to think that all autistics are in that category.
I am autism. You ignored me. That was a mistake.
I think you're missing a word there. If you meant to say, I am Autism Speaks, you ignored me, that was a mistake, then you'd be correct. Imagine if you have never heard of autism before. By watching this commercial and seeing how it's worded, you might actually end up believing that autism is just something that an 8 or 9-year-old can catch out of the blue, and their lives will be absolutely destroyed by it. Maybe. They never actually describe what it does. That's not how autism works. Oh, and by the way, even the person most affected by autism in the world, in that they are a person who actually has it, it is never their entire person. I cannot stress this enough. You cannot boil anyone down to their condition. I can go on to their other works, like their Autism Everyday one, where a staff member contemplated driving off a bridge with her autistic daughter, right in front of said daughter. There are various versions of this video, and not all of them have it. There's a 7-minute one, a 13-minute one, and a 43-minute one. And yes, many staff and board members seem to be made up of people either A, grubbing for sympathy, or B, parents thinking their children are broken. Luckily, Autism Speaks makes a lot of money off their fear-mongering and dehumanizing. But apparently, only 3% of it goes to helping actually currently living autistic people. What they're most interested in is coming up with a prenatal test to determine if a person is going to develop autism. Not entirely sure if that's possible. What part of developmental don't these guys seem to understand? Even if they invent that, it will not help the lives of currently living autistic people, which they are claiming to do. Even if they're treating it as a disease. Getting a prenatal test won't cure it. They poured a lot of time and research into the claim that autism was caused by vaccines. Said person who claimed that was barred from practicing medicine for their entire lives. And I'll steer away from that because that's a whole other argument. On top of other things, Autism Speaks has threatened to sue parodies of them. And you know how much I love companies that do that. You could be curing cancer, and suing a parody of you will always make you look bad. One of the people they threatened to sue was a guy who made t-shirts saying, Autism Speaks can go away. I have autism, I can speak for myself. As Autism Speaks claimed trademark. The other person they threatened to sue was a 14-year-old autistic girl who made a parody blog. Autism Speaks claims to speak for autism, and yet they have no autistic employees or board members with autism. If you don't at least consult people with the condition that you claim to be speaking for, you are at best condescending to them. At worst, you're dehumanizing them. I don't know if this organization is the reason that autistic is used as an insult, like gay or retarded used to be, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were. I know this is different than what I usually do, but I felt that I had to speak on this matter. You know what? I think I'm going to make a very special review.
A single thread in a tapestry, though its color brightly shine, can never see its purpose in the pattern of the grand design. And the stone that sits on the very top of the mountain's mighty face doesn't think it's more important than the stones that form the base. So how can you see what your life is worth, or where your